Protein sensitive means that you already have enough of your own natural protein in your hair and you do not require any additional protein that's been added to the products. If you do use extra protein added in products, your hair becomes dry, stiff, and brittle because you have too much protein in your hair. Depending on how sensitive you are to protein, you may want to either reduce the amount of protein you take or avoid it altogether, or just use the ones that your hair reacts positively to and avoid the ones that your hair does not like. Proteins are made up of small amino acids joined together to form long chains. The cortex, which forms the bulk of our hair, is made up of several protein bonds, of which keratin is the main one. Protein helps strengthen the hair by forming temporary bonds with proteins within the cortex and creating an outer layer on the hair shaft to mend holes, chips, and cracks. Despite the cortex being protected by a thick layer of 3 to 10 overlapping cuticle scales, once damage is caused to the cuticle, your hair will break easily, lack shine, strength, and elasticity. Protein also helps balance out porosity in damaged hair. Try some products that contain protein and just see how your hair reacts. So if your hair is reacting like it's dry, brittle-like, straw-like, lacking moisture, then you may be protein sensitive. And then compare that to products that do not contain any protein and see how your hair reacts to that. If your hair seems more moisturized, then you may also be protein sensitive. So you kind of want to compare the products and see how your hair reacts. You might also just have protein overload and maybe you're not protein sensitive, but you've been using way too much protein and not enough moisture and the balance is way off. So you kind of have to do a little bit of trial and error to see if you're protein sensitive. Companies that add protein to their hair products will usually advertise them as strengthening treatments to rebuild damaged hair through temporary reconstruction. Hair that is damaged from heat styling, hair bleaching, relaxing, etc. has chips, holes, and cracks in the hair cuticles, and extra protein is needed to recover some of that lost protein that is naturally found in the hair to help mend the cuticles. Hair that is high in porosity, usually caused by damage, also needs the extra protein to help mend the damaged cuticles so that the hair can retain moisture a lot better. Fine to medium textured hair will require more protein because the hair is made up of very thin strands that can easily absorb moisture, resulting in over-conditioned hair, causing the hair to look dull and limp. Extra protein added to the hair will help strengthen the hair and balance out the protein-moisture composition of the hair. Coarse, textured hair is made up of wide, thick hair strands that contain enough of its own natural proteins, and as a result, it doesn't require any additional protein added in hair products. As mentioned earlier, protein makes the hair feel stronger, and since coarse hair is already naturally strong and thick, it makes sense to avoid protein, as too much protein will make the hair feel straw-like and extremely stiff and may result in protein overload. As discussed, protein added in hair products help to create an outer layer on the hair cuticle, filling in the gaps caused by damage. Low porosity hair, in fact, is healthy hair that contains little to no gaps in the hair cuticle and therefore does not require additional protein to help repair damaged cuticles. Also, low porosity hair retains and holds moisture very well because the cuticles lay flat and tightly closed. Therefore, it doesn't need the help of protein to help prevent water loss. Low porosity hair still has most, if not all, of its protein left in the hair, so too much protein will cause stiff, brittle, and dry hair caused by protein overload. Protein overload means that your hair has too much protein and not enough moisture, causing it to feel very dry, stiff, and brittle. You want to get the proper protein-moisture balance back into your hair as soon as possible to prevent hair breakage. Stop using products containing protein and focus on adding moisture back into your hair. Depending on the level of sensitivity to protein, the time it will take for your hair to recover from protein overload may vary. You may also have to trim your damaged ends caused by breakage. You will need to experiment with your hair to see how much protein your hair requires in comparison to moisture in order to remain a healthy balance. Also, you will need to determine what types of protein your hair responds to and which ones to avoid. Low porosity hair and coarse textured hair usually require more moisture than protein, and high porosity hair and fine to medium textured hair usually require more protein than moisture. It's very important to maintain a healthy protein-moisture balance in your hair because you don't want to overload on one or the other because it will eventually lead to breakage. Protein-sensitive hair may be able to tolerate smaller proteins like silk amino acids and hydrolyzed wheat protein rather than the larger proteins that will just sit on top of your hair, causing it to feel hard. Some of the commonly used DIY protein treatments contain the following ingredients. These homemade ingredients are too large in molecular weight to penetrate into the hair shaft and will instead sit on top of the hair. Hydrolyzed proteins provide more benefits to strengthen the hair. Ingredients that are not proteins but mimic protein by helping the hair retain protein include coconut oil, henna, clay, and mud washes. As a rule of thumb, the ingredients list is usually a ranking of ingredients from highest to lowest concentration in the formula. Ingredients listed at the top of the list make up the majority of the product, while ingredients found towards the bottom of the list are present in lower quantities. In some cases, your hair may require a lower amount of protein or may be tolerant to only certain proteins. Experimenting will help you discover the appropriate amounts of protein your hair likes, as well as the type of proteins to use and avoid. If there is an ingredient on a product label that you're not familiar with, do your research and Google the ingredient name to see if it is a protein. Okay, so my hair is low porosity, coarse in texture, and protein sensitive on the majority of my head. So the front perimeter of my head where my bangs are, I do have finer texture and I'm not too sensitive to protein. So basically I do have to treat the different areas differently. The front pieces, because they are fine in texture, I do have to put a little bit of protein treatment in that once in a while just to avoid my curls looking really limp and mushy like, and the protein basically just gives it the strength that it needs to get its curl definition back. So the rest of my head, like I said, I barely ever use protein products. When I do, my hair feels very hard and brittle, like I can just tell that I'm very, very sensitive to protein. So I stick to protein-free products, and that's been working out for me. So you just want to make sure that you are treating different sections of your hair differently and see what your hair likes. And yeah, and that's about it. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave any comments below. And I hope this video helped anybody, and have yourself a good day. See you next time.